Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to share my birth story and also talk about my postpartum experience. So let's start with the birth story. I actually gave birth on almost my due date. So my due date was June 9 and I gave birth in the early hours of June 10. So my labor began on June 9 exactly, and I thought this is so rare, and I was so excited because it happened on the day that it was predicted, although it's usually it's like a ballpark date that the doctors give you just to have an idea of when you can give birth, but it's rare that it happens exactly on that day. But I thought, my baby is very punctual. So prior to that, actually, what happened is that I was having contractions for about 2 days that weren't leading to anything. So I think there's a term for that called prodromal labor. So it's like contractions that are not Braxton Hicks, because I had Braxton Hicks throughout my whole pregnancy, and these were different. They had a bit of pain associated with them, and they were regular. But they didn't cause any cervix dilation, so they didn't cause any labor progression. So they were kind of like false labor contractions. And I had that 2 days before. It was frustrating because I just wanted to give birth already, and I was thinking these contractions. I remember one of the first days I had them at night, and I was timing them. I was in bed, but I was timing them, and then morning came and I realized I fell asleep. So if I fell asleep, you can't really sleep through real labor contractions. So if I fell asleep, that means that they were not real. So I was really bummed out. And before that, I had my doctor's appointments where I was getting examined once a week, and I was dilated at about 1 centimeter, and my doctor suggested that we do membrane sweep to speed up the onset of labor. So we did that twice, and after that I had these false labor contractions. So that was the beginning of the week. And then June 9 was a Thursday. So on midnight exactly, I started getting contractions. And we are getting ready for bed with my husband. And these contractions are regular, and they're kind of more painful than what these false labor contractions that I had before. So we're just there kind of timing them. After about an hour, I called the hospital and I told them look, yeah, I have these contractions. They're regular, they're painful. They're not, crazy painful. I can still talk through them, but I'm kind of starting to really breathe through them. So the nurse on the phone tells me okay, here's what you're gonna do. You're gonna go take a bath and sit in there for 30 minutes. And if the contractions don't stop after that, then we know that it's probably real labor. And you're going to start timing these contractions, and once they are 5 minutes apart for about 2 hours, then you can come in. So I was all right, I'm going to go do that. So I go and take a bath. I sit there for 30 minutes, get contractions in the bath so they don't stop after I get out of the bath, and I start timing them. And it's nighttime, so my husband is just sleeping, and I am just in bed timing these contractions and watching some YouTube. So after a couple of hours, and I use an app to track the length and the frequency of the contractions. So after about 2 hours, they're regular. So I wake up my husband and I tell them that's it, they're regular, they're about 5 minutes, let's get ready. So we pack our things. By the way, I have a video showing everything that I packed for my hospital bag. I'll have a link for it in the description box. So yes, we pack our things and we head to the hospital. It's about maybe 4 a.m. at this point. And we're so excited because that's it, she's coming. Yeah, we arrive at the hospital, and the nurse at the front desk brings me into triage, and my husband is not allowed to come in. So in triage, she first examines me, and while she's examining me, she tells me, how much did you say you were dilated again? And I answer, well, 1 centimeter. And then she tells me, well, you're still at 1 centimeter. I was shocked because, the contractions were not so mild anymore and they were very regular, but I was still at 1 centimeter. And the nurse tells me, yeah, I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to send you home. Guys, I was just so shocked. Like, send me home? But I'm in labor. So the doctor on call there explained to me that, we can only admit you to the hospital when you're at about 4 centimeters dilated. And we don't recommend that you get admitted before, because that just increases your chances of getting complications or having like medical interventions during labor, and we don't want that. So it's better to just like wait out the progression of labor at home. And especially because this is your first pregnancy, things are very like slow. So yeah, I'm sorry, but you have to go home. Yeah, so we are like really discouraged at this point, kind of like bummed out. Like, what do you mean we have to go home? We packed everything. Oh, and after she examined me, she also, like, when you go into this room, you sit on a reclining chair kind of, and they strap like monitors on your belly, like one for your contraction and the other one for the baby's heartbeat. And you sit there for like an hour or more, and you have to live through these contractions sitting down, and it's very uncomfortable. And the nurses are just walking by, they're just busy with their stuff, and you're just there living through these contractions on a chair. It's not nice. Not nice. So we head back home. Maybe it's around like 6 a.m. at this point, and I haven't slept all night, and these contractions are continuing. It's not like they're paused. So we go back home. I think I like ate something at that point, and we just put on like some TV and we were just there, timing each contractions, and they were getting more and more painful. I remember that some of them I really, I was like breathing through them. I was really trying not to hold my breath and not to tense up during the contraction, but I remember that I wasn't able to like go through it without making like kind of like sounds of like really, me in pain. So we stay at home for like 2 hours, and at about maybe 9 a.m. we're like, that's it, let's just go, because I'm in really a lot of pain and they're regular, and I'm thinking, I must be really well dilated at this point because they are so painful. So again, we drive back to the hospital, and guys, driving in the car also while having contractions is not a nice thing, really not. We arrive at the hospital, the nurse examines me again, and she's like, you're maybe like 1.5 centimeters, but not even there yet. Guys, I just could not believe what I was hearing. I could not, because I was in pain. I was really, really in pain, and I was not dilating. And she tells me, yeah, sorry, but we can't admit you, and yeah, you're gonna have to go home again. I just had feelings of, desperation. And I remember my husband was like, no, what do you mean? Go home again? I can't. So after that, they put me on this chair again, and I stayed there for maybe an hour and a half, I'm not even sure. Very painful contractions, and when you're in such pain and there's really nothing you can do, and you also understand that things are not progressing as fast as you would like them to, and you can't even be admitted now, so you're just there waiting, or you might have to go back home, and you just want the pain to kind of be relieved a little bit, because they're coming like every 4 to 5 minutes, and they're painful, and you're thinking, oh, okay, one is over, but there's another one coming and another one. And these nurses, I understand that this is their job and they see this every day, but they're just walking past you, the doctors are walking past you, not even paying attention to you, and you're thinking, oh my god, I hate you all. Of course, these feelings are coming only because you're in such pain, But yeah, I remember being really frustrated. So they tell me, can you go in the waiting room because we need to use this chair for someone else. So I just, I'm in the waiting room in the Department of Obstetrics and Birth. And again, another hour goes by and another hour goes by, and I'm just there living through these contractions, and we didn't go home. We're just sitting there. And guys, I haven't slept since like 12 a.m. I'm like tired, hungry, very frustrated. And there's the doctor on call there, and she tells me, typically, again, because your dilation is so slow, we typically send you home. But because you're saying that your pain level is so high, what we can do is give you some like morphine, and you could fall asleep, and then when you wake up, you're dilated and it's all good, you can be admitted. So, me being so tired and in pain, I'm thinking, oh, this sounds amazing. So I agree. I'm like, yes, sure, let's do it, anything. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna tell the nurse, and she's gonna administer it to you. So again, I wait and I wait and I wait. It's very long. So I go and see again to the front desk, the nurse. Hello, where's we're talking about the morphine. And she tells me, oh, but all the rooms and the beds are busy, so you're going to have to wait until someone is discharged. Guys, it's very frustrating to hear that when, you're in such pain and, things are just not going the way you want them to go. So I remember being very, I was very down. I was tired, I haven't slept, I was hungry, these contractions were very painful, and I thought I had like a very high pain tolerance, and I didn't know if I wanted, any like medication during labor. But guys, let me tell you, contraction pain is really, I have never experienced pain like this. It's real pain. It's very, very uncomfortable. It's as if someone is ripping you from the inside. I can't even describe like what it feels like in words, but those who've had the contractions, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so again, hours go by and we're waiting for this like morphine. And my husband just goes to the front desk and asks, and they have a shift change at that point, and he just asks the nurse there, like, listen, can you do something? My wife is in a lot of pain and we're like waiting since hours. And and this nurse, her name was Sue, thank God for her, she was so nice. She said, how long have you guys been waiting here? And we're like, well, hours. She's like, let me examine your wife and see where she's at. So she examines me and she says those magic words. She's like, you're a good 3-4 centimeters. We're gonna admit you. Guys, the relief that I felt in that moment, I think I had like tears come down my face. It was the best thing I've ever heard in my life at that point. So I get admitted. She helps us like with my bag. She tells my husband to like go, the reception, register us, and she helps me with my bag. She brings me to the room where I'm gonna eventually deliver, which is a very nice, spacious room. I change into a robe, and right away ask, epidural? Can I get something? She's like, yeah, the doctor is just circulating now, and if you want it, she will just administer it to you. So I get the epidural, and I felt relief right away. And so yeah, guys, I got admitted. It was about 1 or 2 p.m. Can you imagine? My labor started on midnight, and I only got admitted to the hospital at 1 or 2 p.m. So to say that I was exhausted was just, it was not even a valid way to describe how tired I was. And in the room you have like these monitors that show you the baby's heartbeat, I think your heartbeat, and your contractions. And I remember laying down and seeing a contraction coming and thinking, wow, I don't feel a thing. It was really the best feeling in the world. So yeah, we get settled in, and my sister came in. She really wanted to be there during the birth, and we had like some new COVID regulations where they were allowing like 2 people to be with you. So it was my husband and my sister, and she came in once we were like settled in. And you know, at that point it was a very pleasant experience because I was able to rest because I was under anesthesia, and we just spent like the whole day together, just us 3. You know, at some point the doctor came in to break my water, and yeah, throughout the whole day we're just waiting for labor to progress. Dilation was going really slow. I think I had an oxytocin drip to speed things up, and yeah, then evening came in. At some point the nurse came in for us to kind of practice like pushing, which was you know, it was interesting. And then so yeah, the whole day we spent at the hospital. I think I ate something at this point, and it was already past midnight, so we reached June 10. And the nurse told me, oh, you know guys, another thing I remember, I was having like chills like through different points in my labor, especially towards the end before pushing. My whole body was like shaking, and I had like the chills. I wasn't cold, I was just shaking like crazy. And I remember asking the nurses like, what is this? And they're like, you know, it's just your body's way of it, your body's kind of like in shock, and you're probably like at full dilation or very close to it, so that's why your body is reacting this way. And yeah, and my epidural towards the end was starting to wear off, and the nurse said, you know, I don't recommend that we top it off because it's good when you feel the contractions during pushing, so I don't recommend we do that. So we didn't. And yeah, you know, contractions were coming in, and I was feeling like this pressure down there, like as if I have to like push. And so the nurse said, okay, you know, it was probably time. So I pushed in 30 minutes, which the nurse said was pretty good for a first time labor. And you know, my daughter was finally born, and they put her on my chest. It was surreal. You know, I just remember looking at her and thinking, wow, here you are, you know, you're the one who's been kicking me all these months. It was really nice. It was a nice experience because my husband was there with me, my sister was there. You know, my sister, she said, oh, you know, I'm not going to look down there, but she ended up seeing the whole thing. So yeah, I pushed her out. She was out. Placenta was, you know, the placenta, I didn't even see it, but basically they just like kind of pushed onto my stomach and it just came out. Then they did some stitching on me, so I had 1st-degree tears, and the stitching, I really felt that was painful because again, my epidural was wearing off, so the stitching was quite uncomfortable. I remember telling the doctor like, oh, you know, I feel that. You're like, yeah, I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I have to do my job. Yeah, guys, so I gave birth on June 10 at 2:47 a.m. And it was a beautiful little girl. And I think I mentioned in previous video that we named her Mia. And yeah, I was exhausted, but you know, when you're like, you know, it's such a big event, like you just gave birth, you know, and for me it was my first time, so you're kind of on like this adrenaline. So I didn't really sleep after that. You know, they brought us into the room, and I was just like holding her, and you know, my husband was crazy emotional, very emotional. He was holding her and he was like crying because he was just overwhelmed with feelings. You know, he was tired as well. I think it's hard for whoever is with you during labor, because you know you're the one living through it. You're in pain, living through through those contractions, but your partner, whoever is there to support you, for them it must be also hard, because they can't really do anything to relieve your pain, and they see that you're you know, you're very uncomfortable, and I think it's hard also to watch that. So he was exhausted as well, for sure. And yeah, he was like very emotional, because he's like, she is so tiny, I'm so scared to hurt her. Yeah, so we stayed at the hospital for about 2 days, not even, because I gave birth early hours of June 10, and that was a Friday, and then Saturday afternoon we went home. So the days at the hospital, you know, and I'm gonna dive into my postpartum now. You know, postpartum, physically, the first days at the hospital, because you know I had an epidural, so I was, the recovery from that and from a vaginal birth, you know, you're in pain. I was swollen a lot because I had so many fluids pumped into me, so I was swollen. I remember my legs were swollen, my whole face, my fingers, everything. And for some reason my right leg was kind of numb from the epidural more than the other one, so I couldn't really even, you know, step on the floor and go to the bathroom. So the first 2 times I had to go pee, I had to have like a nurse help me. So yeah, I didn't expect to be so like incapacitated, and you're sore down there, you're bleeding, you know, it's tough. The nurse is there, which I want to say, that the nurses, I gave birth here in Montreal in St. Mary's Hospital, and all of the nurses there were amazing. They were so knowledgeable, they were so kind, they were just very good people, and I'm so glad that I was surrounded by them, and the doctors as well, very, very just like true professionals and just very good people. And the first nurse that we had after giving birth, you know, right away she showed me how to express colostrum, which I was surprised that I had so much of. She just kind of like pinched my my breast, and it just started to come out. She was like, yeah, here you go, and you can just feed it to your baby. And I've been doing that right away from the start, and also practicing with me of her latching, but because she wasn't, you know, didn't really know how to latch properly yet, I expressed the colostrum into like a little cup, and we fed her the colostrum that way. So that was really, you know, fundamental. I'm really glad that the nurse showed me how to do it. You know, then we came back home, and you know, I never realized, like I heard about postpartum before, just the term postpartum, you know, it's after birth, but I never realized how much of a huge thing it really is, not only physically but emotionally, because your hormones are all over the place. So you can't, sometimes you have these feelings and you can't really like control them, because like your hormones are responsible for that. And so not only you're recovering physically, which also I never expected to be, like, you know, you're so sore down there and you have like stitches and you're bleeding and things hurt, and you know, add to that you don't have like a full night's sleep anymore because you have a newborn that needs to be fed every couple of hours. But yeah, you know, I had feelings during postpartum first weeks. For some reason in the evening, I was feeling much worse. Like as soon as the evening came in, maybe around like 5 p.m., I was starting to get like more anxiety. I was like uneasy about things. I was like worried. I don't know why. Only in the evening. In the morning, during the day, I was much more stable. I was feeling even good some days, but in the evening things got a bit worse for me. I had like periodically these like crazy thoughts about my baby. Like I can't even explain why I had these thoughts, and I still have them sometimes, but like I would just imagine falling down the stairs with her, or I would just imagine, you know, if I'm holding her or someone's holding her and they just drop her, or, you know, like crazy, scary thoughts like that. I had that for some reason. Then the first few weeks, or yeah, the first couple of weeks, I was really scared to like go out of the house alone with her, even just take a walk by myself with the stroller. I wasn't comfortable doing that, and I was doubting myself a lot and just my abilities to take care of her, you know. And it's such a crazy thing, you know, because like maybe people expect like, oh, but you're a mother, you know, you should just know how to do this, or it should just come naturally, but it really doesn't. Like, you really doubt yourself and you're scared and you're thinking, you know, and then you have like these feelings of you kind of start to like, I was feeling like, oh, you know, you have a baby, you should be happy, you shouldn't be feeling like that. So you start to like guilt trip yourself. And I was breastfeeding, and that also was like a thing on its own. It took me a while to get like very comfortable with it. It took me a while to, you know, understand her and how, although I have to say like she was pretty good with latching after a while. And I didn't have problems in that area, but I remember I was pumping a lot also in the beginning to kind of just, increase my milk supply. And sometimes we would just give her express milk in a bottle, and I was feeling so guilty of giving her the bottle and not me breastfeeding, although the bottle had my milk. But I had these like crazy guilt feelings of, no, I should be sitting there and breastfeeding her, we shouldn't be giving her the bottle. So, you know, you get these like mix of emotions that you just can't really explain. And also I had like these episodes where I could just start crying randomly, just for no reason, or I would just remember things and get very emotional. So yeah, you know, overall, you know, my postpartum experience was okay. I still am going through it. It's only been like 5 weeks since I gave birth. But things are much better today. They're much more stable. I feel much more like myself. And I'm able to like cope with these feelings. And, you know, after 5 weeks, I'm more comfortable with my daughter. You know, I got to know her a little bit. Still, there are days when, you know, she cries and you don't know why. You know, you have to get to know her. She gets to know you, and it's really a process. So what has helped me to go through this is, number one, it was really time. Time makes things a lot better because, well, first of all, you heal and you get used to your new routine. You get used to your baby, and you kind of learn to navigate through those feelings. And I really allowed myself to feel the things that I was feeling. I wasn't trying to like suppress, although again I was like really guilt tripping myself a lot of times, but I was just telling myself like, you know, this is normal, just allow yourself to live through that. It's okay. And, you know, I actually have a newfound respect for just all the moms, because I realize you know, what we all go through, and it's a really tough thing, you know. It's especially if you don't have like the proper support around you. You know, postpartum depression is a real thing, and I really can see how it can just creep up on you very easily if you don't like watch yourself, and if you don't like really talk about your emotions and really acknowledge how you're feeling. And I think it's important to talk about it. As soon as I was feeling, you know, sad, or I had worries, or I had anxiety, I would always come to my husband and just tell him about it. It just helps to say it out loud and get it out. Yeah, and you know, over time, you know, you get into we had like a really good, from the start, we kind of set up like a good nighttime routine with our baby, and she was, we kind of figured out how to get her to sleep, and now she's only waking up like once in the night, so it's much better for your sleep. We're much less tired. And during the day also, I try to follow like a eat, play, sleep routine with her, where when she's napping, I have some time to myself, and it definitely helps. And also, Although I'm not cleared for exercise yet. My postpartum appointment with my obstetrician is only at 6 weeks or in a week. But I take walks with her a lot with my daughter. So that helps, just going fresh air, getting some movement. I do some things around the house, I don't lift heavy things or anything, but just cleaning around the house. And there were a lot of things that I couldn't even do in late pregnancy because, it's hard to bend and all that stuff. But I kind of resumed doing them now, and it just feels much better to move your body a little bit and just feel like, if you keep yourself busy. But I have to say, also, when I was feeling very tired or I was not up to anything, I allowed myself to just sit on the couch and watch television while she was napping, and that was okay too. I just told myself I'm going to let my body recover and I'm going to let my mind recover, because that is the most important. If I'm not in a good place mentally, then I cannot be a good mother and a good wife, and I cannot be me. So it's very important. I think a lot of the times we can forget about that we take care of the baby, but you have to take care of yourself, because if you don't take care of yourself, then you cannot be the best version of yourself for your child, and no one needs that. So yeah, that's my story. That was my birth story and my postpartum. So I hope that this video was helpful to some of you. I hope that it brought some sense of belonging to some of you, because for me, when I was going through rougher weeks, it helped for me to listen to other people talk about their experience, and they mentioned things that I could fully relate to, and things that I heard and thought, I feel the same way. And it's just nice to know that you're not alone, that there are millions of women that go through this, and that it's normal for you to feel the way that you feel. And it's just nice to know that you're kind of part of a little community of women, and they all go through that and they know what you're going through. So I hope that my video also helps someone when they listen to this. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and give a thumbs up if you haven't already. And yeah, I hope you're all doing amazing. I hope you're all safe and healthy, and I'll see you in my next video.